Previously in X-Men, Professor Charles Xavier was recently the victim of a hate-filled assault as tensions continue to rise toward the small mutant population. His newest student, Rachel, is a displaced mutant from the future. She is becoming increasingly valued by her teammates, all while keeping her secrets to herself. Magneto, once the X-Men's arch foe, has been recovering on a secret island in the Bermuda Triangle, as one does, alongside his new romantic interest, Athetis Forrester. Is the world ready for Magneto's return? Is it safe for Professor X to be so vulnerable at Columbia University? I am Jason Lapidus.
And I'm Chris Sanagan.
And we are Group of 7 Comics. Welcome to episode 123 of our ongoing Tuesday night live stream read-through of the X-Men comics that became classic as we read Uncanny X-Men 196 by Chris Claremont, John Romita Jr., Dan Green, cover date of August 1985. Chris, how are you?
I'm good. Jason, how are you?
I'm good, man. Usually
throwing it back to you. I know, throwing it back to you. Yeah, I'm throwing it now. All good. 123, episode 123.
Yeah, well, we keep having these episodes where we go a little long. We have to, one turns into two. So we've had a couple now in recent months that have surprised me.
We're into year 3.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think of it that way. But, we've been through 10 years of Chris Claremont's X-Men and seen so much growth in terms of, I would say, the way he handles the characters, the way the characters are drawn, how the characters make audiences feel at the time and looking back. And like the tone of comics going from, maybe mid-70s, they're just like, hey, can we try and keep this Lee Kirby Ditko thing going? It's been 5 years or 6 years since Kirby left. Can we kind of hang on to this point? It's like, no, this is a different age of comics. We're now past the Silver Age. We're into the Bronze, almost into the modern age. It's really moving on, moving forward. Readership has grown up a lot. Creators are often readers themselves a generation later, like they grew up reading comics. So it's a really different time to coming across Claremont and Romita at this moment in time. But let's say hello to Chuck Dotson. How you doing, Chuck? It's happening. It is, my friend. Michael's here. Hello, Michael. And I hope everyone out there is doing well. We do have a special guest with us tonight. He'll be coming in shortly. But when he arrives, it's always a good moment. So, he'll get whatever introduction he's going to get when that happens. I'm assuming, like usual, you read this for the first time.
I did.
For this?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like almost every single comic we do, I am reading it for the first time.
Yeah. I've owned this one for a while, but I had never really read it before until we got in this region for this run. Last week we touched upon, aside from obviously the season finale of X-Men 97, we touched upon a prelude to this issue in Secret Wars 2. I think there's some movement. What's going on there?
Special guest, Ben.
Special guest, my firstborn and my dog, who are behind my melon back there doing stuff. My dog was been sleeping on my feet, and so he was just disturbed by some movement of people. But anyway, there was a prelude where the Beyonder is on Earth. He has come after the financial success of Secret Wars with Marvel a couple of years earlier. There's now, of course, the inevitable sequel. And instead of it being a self-contained narrative where all the characters visit Battle World, now it is stitched throughout all of the Marvel comics that are relevant at that time. So the Beyonder doesn't go to G.I. Joe. He doesn't go to Transformers. But he goes to X-Men. He goes to New Mutants. He goes to all those titles and has a minor to major interaction. Always, with the characters, things are status quo by the end of it all.
Mm-hmm.
The characters aren't changed in any way, but it's a chance for the Beyonder to kind of, learn what it means to be human and to mess around, in a naive devil-like way, to mess around with everyone's status quo and everyone's existence for a moment in time. Speaking of messing around with the status quo for a moment in time. Let's bring our returning special guest, actor, comedian, conqueror of hats, Nigel Downer. Nigel, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Giving you a high five. I'm also trying to focus this camera. Is what I'm trying to do. Trying to get this thing.
It looks focused.
Does it look focused on your end?
Medium. I wouldn't trust Chris.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, see, I wear these. I wear these. I'm like, looks focused.
That's true. That's also very true. Yeah, that's not focused. It'll happen. It'll happen. But I'm gonna do a little thing here and just do. We're almost there. We're almost there. You know what? It'll sort itself out. I gotta turn off the light above me, I think, and I'll get focused. What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up?
Not too much. We're just talking X-Men. What's up with you?
Oh man, listen, I'm late again because not only because it's just in my DNA, but because I was trying to make sure that everything I had around me that was going to happen today. Thank you very much, Chuck. I appreciate you. Is on brand, is on theme with some things or a thing that is going to happen in our issue that we're reading today. So I was making sure that I was very
wow.
With it. Hold on, let me turn this light. This is killing me. Hold on.
Do that.
Yeah, hold on.
To me, my ex-friends. Welcome
back, Jason.
Lowe.
What's up, bro? Hold on.
We missed Jason in the chat for a long time. Glad you can be here with us tonight, Jason. So while Nigel is just dipping out for a minute, just not a warning, just a heads up. This issue contains offensive language, flat out. Yeah. Full stop. This issue is going to contains offensive language written probably in 1985, and as we'll talk about later, reprinted at least as recently as 2011. Full text.
That to me is yeah.
So we'll be talking about when we get there, but up until then, we're just going to enjoy the show, and when we need to talk serious about it, we'll talk serious about it. But at this moment, we're definitely not there yet. Nigel, I'm assuming you have not read this comic before until today.
Yeah, you got
correct?
It. Yeah.
And do you have experience reading X-Men earlier than this issue?
I do, and I think this is where we kind of had that chat last week, which was amazing, by the way, talking about like how we got started, and everybody in the chat was going off on it too. I think this is where I have a lot of piecemeal. Like I have a lot of issues that are just kind of random and not really full together stories at this point in time. I think and later on in this, once we start to get to about, what is this, 195 we're reading? So I think around the 300s, I think I have more issues, but I don't have these. I know I don't have these earlier ones. So. Right.
And John Romita Jr., is he an artist that you care about? You don't care? Are you not really art focused, or where are you at?
No. See, this is the thing. I'll give you guys a little bit more insight about me. Let's get to know each other, shall we? I wanted to in school. Basically, I could draw before I could read. That's what my parents tell me. Like I'm not a great reader, so behold today. So I was always drawing, I was in the local newspaper time on time because of my illustrations and whatnot. And I tried to get into Sheridan College, as one does, to get into classical animation, because at the time that was like the bee's knees, old school reference, you get it. Didn't make it in, got into graphic design later in life, whatever. My point is that I'm all about illustration. So illustration for me was like top. That was the first thing I was looking for in a book. Then I would read it and the reading would be fine. But I found as I was getting older and a little bit more mature, the story mattered so much more, not more than the art. The art should, for me, is always number one, but the story really had to be part and parcel with the art. You know what I mean? Like it's, so now I'm in that camp where I need both. It's not just the art anymore. Sometimes the words are just 100% top notch, and I can get the art can kind of fall by the wayside. But Ramada Jr., he's fantastic. I mean, I'm a Jim Lee guy. Like that was my era. Eric Larson, my guy as well, because he was like the amalgamation of what do you say, man? Because he's more cartoony, right, than he was, but his anatomy was really fun and fantastic. Joe Mad. I like Joe Majura a lot. Again, cartoony but really fun. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Right, and then Romita Jr. has a second run on X-Men around the 300s. Yeah. Did you ever read the Cable Limited series?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, man. I think he dashed that out in a weekend.
Did he?
No, I'm exaggerating.
I think
probably had like 2 weeks to do both issues. They look extremely fast.
Right.
If you go into it with that, like with the mindset of trying to figure out how much time a person spends on a panel, that Cable 2-parter is very quickly dashed out, and it has so much energy because it's going at a fast pace. But there you go. So as I've said before, this is about the time that I've come on X-Men to start reading. I think I join reading this regularly in about 4 more issues. So these characters are ones that I was used to growing up. They were all pretty mysterious to me because I didn't get back issues for a long time. And when I did get back issues, it was like a different version of Storm. It was Nightcrawler was not a big character. Wolverine was just a one-dimensional hack and slash kind of guy. Colossus was kind of the same. So those are my core, and Cyclops. And whenever I see that team of Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Storm, Colossus, and Wolverine, I'm like, oh, that's my heaven. I love that group of people. But then trying to figure out what to do with Kitty Pryde is, what to do with Rachel, who is such a confusing character, coming in. The iconography of her being redheaded, okay, that's specific in X-Men comics, and the fact that she has these powers, and I, like trying to figure out what's to do with her, and something about Phoenix I don't really quite understand. So it was always fun to try and figure it all out. And then Rogue, I had no idea who Rogue was, and and it's so fun to see like this version of Rogue compared to your Jim Lee Rogue. I just say your because I'm trying to like contrast the 2 time periods a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
They're almost different characters in a lot of ways. Physically, they're different. One is like buxom and formidable physically, or looks formidable physically, and the other one, this one, is like androgynous a lot of the time, and like heroin chic. So her hair is kind of punky, and she's real thin and gangly, and it's really different to see the characters portrayed in these fun ways. Chuck says, yeah, everyone has their X-Men for sure.
Yeah.
And, I wear mine on my sleeve. What I'm enjoying about these read-throughs is seeing that my X-Men aren't the only X-Men. Yeah, it's really neat because, even the ones that, like, even though I feel so fond about those particular characters, I also fell in love with like this iteration with the Kitty Pryde dynamic with the other members. And then, like we were talking about Excalibur, falling in love with that. And I jumped on with X Factor from the beginning because I thought it was important. I was wrong.
What's funny about that is that I'm with you. I didn't even bother. I didn't even bother with X Factor, though. There was something about it that I was just like, I don't know if this is a spinoff or like a bad sitcom that they took from one character. And exactly. And I was just like, so I never really got into it. And the art was weird at the time, too. It was pretty... when they first came out, I believe it wasn't great, but
yeah. So everyone does have their thing, and for Chris, X-Men it's just about actors. He's all about fan casting.
Nigel, do you know I love actors?
I do now.
Fan casting of actors in the 1990s. That's all.
Fantastic.
This is like, that's it. That's all you.
Your face did light up when I mentioned that Wizard issue where they did fan casting. Yeah, see, there it is.
That is seriously my intro point. I'm not joking.
Oh, you're serious?
Yeah, a friend. I always knew about the X-Men, and I didn't really. Again, going back to those conversations about like picking up the odd comic from the Max Melk or the Beckers or whatever.
Yeah,
I still remember like a couple issues of Web of Spider-Man. I already dropped the New Warriors reference last week.
Right.
There was like a few things like that I was like, okay, and then I remember picking up that Wizard. It's like if we cast the X-Men in '94 or whatever the heck it was, and I was like, yep, Iman is Storm, sure, and it's like. Rutger Hauer was Magneto. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Glenn Danzig was Wolverine. To this day, I still think Michael Biehn would have been a killer Cyclops. I think Michael Biehn would have been a killer Cyclops.
Aliens, Michael Biehn.
Hicks aliens, but leader of the X-Men, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I love this so much. I had no idea. That's amazing.
It's funny.
Let me ask you guys this, because I'm very curious. Who is, and Chris, I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
Who is an X-Men to you? It could be, give me maybe your top three, or just give me one. Who is the X-Men that you found out or you felt was like crazy powerful? So for example, like for me, when I got an understanding, I was like, Bishop can absorb and then shoot it out. Like, it just, like, who's an X-Men that all of a sudden you're just like, they're crazy powerful to you, not to everybody else, or not that's like actually canon. Like, who's a character for you that you're just like whoa?
90s era, like Jim Lee, the animated series Rogue for me was always like, whoa. I was always like, and so then, which is like the sweetest thing because of how she's depicted in X-Men 97 with that power set, right? It was a great payoff for me personally. But yeah, she was always, I was like, it's kind of Captain Marvel-y. There's power is similar, but that was always a bit. And then going through these issues as well, like, again, like as Jason was saying, every single issue we do is like my first time going through it. And so all our conversations have been about like, what's it? I'm like, who's this character? What are they doing? And then over 50 issues, I'm like, I love that character. Like take Rogue. Like Rogue to me is like has grown on me so much. In fact, so many of them have. But he'll be one who on surface I was like, but then blown away a bit by the power set for sure.
Nice, Jason.
Yeah, just to echo what you're saying, Chris. Rogue has also had those, like Claremont writes her those moments. I'm very creator focused as opposed to character. Like the characters aren't real to me. They're representations of ideas, and so sometimes I have a tough time just being like, and then Rogue said, it's like, no, and then Claremont wrote, but I hear you. So I really love how she transitions from villain to hero and like has to earn her place on the team. And Nigel, I really suggest you go back and read some issues around 172 where she comes in to like, they know her from the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and they hate her. Like, she's ruined Carol Danvers' life by absorbing her personality and powers, put her in a coma. And Carol was a supporting character in X-Men at the time. And so she was like living at the mansion sometimes. So they really had a hate on for this young mutant, and she eventually comes to the mansion begging for help because she's hearing the voices and doesn't know what to do with her powers and all that. And then eventually, like, once Xavier says she's joining, all the X-Men are like, we're gonna kill her, and they decide they're just gonna keep her. She's the outcast of the group. There's this one where like Wolverine goes on a mission with her and he's like, if we're gonna do this, like, I gotta trust you, so go do a thing. And she does a thing, and then he says, like, he basically takes a bullet for her. And when she sees that he's willing, like, she's never been around someone who's going to sacrifice himself for her, and then she takes one for him, and it's like, oh, now the group is like they're coming together. She broke through with the hardest X-Man in a way, like the gruffest, and he just gets a soft spot for her. And so once that happens, when we're reading it, we're like, oh, this is kind of awesome. It's one thing to like accept Rogue in the movies because she's all vulnerable and she's lost and she's a runaway. That was easy for Wolverine. He just had to like let his guard down about being a jerk.
Right.
That wasn't hard. And in the comics with Kitty Pryde, same kind of thing. He just has to, with Jubilee, it's not hard for him to embrace her, but for him to take on Rogue in the comics, she's a goddamn villain. And she's a threat to them.
And then when she takes the bullet, he says, "Take my healing factor."
Yeah.
Like to her, that's the ultimate gift, right? Is like, we're in this together, absorb this so you can get better, right? It's like, and then you're right. Then there's like little bits of dialogue where people will bring her up, like kind of like, oh, Rogue. And he's like, no. He'll shoot it down. And it's like, okay, all right.
So once she's in, it makes her just a way cooler. Like, that transition was really great for me. But the character whose power set, I think, as a kid, I always loved was Colossus. Yeah. I have a soft spot for transformations.
Yeah,
I like the He-Man holding up the sword, the Lion-O. Like, anytime a character goes from a little bit on the meek side to power up, I just get like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing
like
ever.
Battle Cat, right? Like Battle Cat, right? Yeah.
Essentially, superhero erection.
Okay, so that's one way to. I mean, you said it better before. Now to go back and then say it worse. That's a choice.
I really love like the Voltron, they come together, the transform into that more powerful thing. So when
there's nothing
Colossus
better than
armors up, I'm like,
there's nothing better than that transformation for me too. Like I'm for sure in your camp, man. I support that idea 100%, except for the back end of the comment, but I support that whole thing. Like when the transformation thing is so iconic and it means so much because of the personality changes so much, and then you don't know what they're able to accomplish. It's fantastic, man. It's great. I also like shows like I'm in the market for getting a couple Mask figures. Do you remember the show Mask?
Mobile Armored Strike Command.
Thank you. Chris, we need to hang out more. Jason, you need to work on your repertoire. Like that whole thing of like, again, the transformation of the vehicles, and on top of that, it's just the same dude, but just a mask goes on, and I'm like, I'm about it. Yeah, like I'm about it. You know? Yeah, I mean,
it's that level up in whatever it is, and I probably would trace it back to Batman 66. The bat pole going from being a regular, like running down the thing, like that was amazing. Superman 78, I think it is. You know, where even just that one scene where he goes in the revolving door to transform. Yeah. I mean, did we not all do that as kids, hoping that we get a second with the revolving door to go really fast, hoping we could transform? And of course, I mean, I don't know about you guys, like Wonder Woman, I was watching that show as a kid.
Yep.
Linda Carter, and just spin around, like just that thing to power up and then go take on. And being the littlest in my family, I was always at the receiving end of whatever wrestling. Like I'm on the bottom, so being on the bottom and then powering up would be like my only chance I can possibly, like, if I can just do the thing to tap my magic amulet, I will, you know. And I remember like Thundercats Ho punching my dad between the legs. Like, you know.
I'm sure he really treasures that.
Yeah.
You know what? But to connect some of these pieces and to geek out a little bit, you know, Colossus, the transformation, and an X2 when we finally see it, where he's in the mansion, he's like, I can help, and it was like, oh, and he turns. I still remember being like, it's his first time that, like, that's one of the great things about that first set of movies, the first couple of movies, is that the intros to certain powers, they like when the first time he pops his claws, the snick sounds great and it looks great. First time Colossus turns and like becomes armored, it looked great, got goosebumps. First time Nightcrawler bamps in that opening sequence, it's like they nailed the sound in my head that was in my head, and they nailed the look. And it's like if you get any of those wrong off the get-go, you're probably sunk.
Yeah. But
it feels like as a franchise, I mean, we can debate the merits of different movies, but it feels like some of those transformation pieces, they really nailed, right? As a viewer, as an audience member, you know?
There was on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in the early 80s, they also did all three characters transform for the opening credits. Spidey would just put a suit on, which was the weakest.
He'd be like, just putting it on and be like, transform. He'd be like, just give me a minute.
Yeah, exactly, which is like adorable.
Tears it like pantyhose. Oh no!
Firestar just like glows from the inside, and there's like a zap, and she's in costume. And Iceman would do the like ice brick and then burst out, and I thought that was like, oh man, that was so good. Too bad he's Iceman, but you know, it's a really cool intro. And then we also, you know, I say we at the end of the 70s, a lot of anime got here. You know, re-edited and all that kind of stuff. But there was a few anime shows that were on that all had those Voltron predecessors, like those Robotech and that kind of stuff, where you get vehicles merging together. So like always, that stuff just gets me. Jason Jose, the Hulk. Whether it's the original Bill Bixby show or whether it was the animated, I mean, the Hulk transformation is again like one of the best of all time. Oh, Chuck, there you go, nail in the head.
Huge. You know what? They're just there's a new issue coming out. I don't know what volume this is going to be, but probably like 4 or 5. But number 1 is coming out. I think it's next month. I think it's in the summer, because they did have a free comic book day. They had a preview for it, and I'm about that life. Like that show for me too was sick. Yeah, Gotcha Man. Yeah, aka Gotcha Man. Yeah. And there's another show called Gundam, like Gundam Wing. Like that's an old franchise too, and it's the same thing for me in terms of a person just like you and me, but we get into these mech suits, and once we get into that, it's like, you know, all the dials and all the things, you know, Power Rangers, it's the same kind of feeling, right?
It's all the same vibe.
Yeah.
And as a kid, you know, my brother and I, me much more, but we were all about the putting on costumes and stuff around the house and pretending. So we had hockey equipment around. So that was like our version of like, the helmet, get the gloves, and like, let's go at it. We're gonna go fight now. And but it was powered up play. I remember doing a game with my brother or anyone who played with me, like just put all the couch cushions on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put them all on me. I'm Bruce Banner. Put them all on, and then just like and then you Hulk out, and it was like, this is the greatest thing you can do.
Yeah.
It was the greatest. So all that kind of thing. Oh, Devastator from Transformers.
Oh,
all of it.
There's since we're on this train, I want to say one more old school, and then we can walk away from it, because I started this train wreck and I love every bit of it. Thank you in the chat for dropping all these like these titles that we're forgetting. But like, do you guys remember the show Silverhawks?
Yeah.
So I should know this audience. That's my bad. So as a kid, because I love that show so much, what I did was, and Jason, to your point, is like, I cut out the cardboard mask, like just the cardboard, almost like a paper plate. I cut it out, and then I colored it all silver, right? And then I did like the band around, and then tied elastics on the side. So I'd run around the house, and then I'd just be like, "What? Tally Hawk!" I'd call my hawk, and I just do this. I'd take the paper and just go over my face. And I was like, yo, there's no stopping me, baby. Like I just love that flex. I love the flex of their, you know, they go and the whole face would change. You just like jump, like any kind of action, like while the transformation is happening, that just levels it up even more, right? Again, Lino with the sword and stuff. It's just any kind of action to level. Even Mumra, like the bad, you're like, no.
Oh no, his transformation is the best one on the show.
Right. It's awesome. Like that whole animation's great.
For sure. Thundercats had an awesome thing. I have a whole rant about this. Now I'll just dip a toe in. This is, to me, so there has been 40 some odd years of them trying to get the audience, the population, to buy Cyborg as a Justice League member. Okay.
This is on brand for what I'm trying to do today anyway. So yeah,
So
continue.
there's been more 40 plus years. You know, Challenge of the Super Friends, like the Superpower Show is the first time he is like the kid character who, you know, is not on the team yet and joins the team like in the first episode. And it's just never really stuck with audiences that he is Justice League. Like, no, he's Teen Titans, or he's something else. But clearly there's this, you know, this push to get him on the team. And I think that's all good. Get him in there, but they have to figure out, like, why is it not sticking? And I have actually a list of 7 reasons that he doesn't feel right for the Justice League.
Amazing.
And all of them are about, I would argue, like the archetype they're basing him on, and that his origin is Marvel style, not DC style. That's a little weird, but many of the DC characters are like kings of their own city. They have their own supporting cast that's unique. You know, they have an arch rival all before they're members of the Justice League. You know, whereas they're trying to shoehorn this character in for all these years. And the thing that is like to the reason I brought it up now, and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but each of the Justice League members, the ones that you imagine are in the league, they require very little imagination and very little clothing for you as a kid to become that character. I remember finding a red balaclava in my deacon bench full of mittens and stuff as a kid, and I put that red balaclava on, and I was Spider-Man in one move. Yeah. You know, if you find a cape, you're Superman in one move. Whatever it is, there just isn't that cyborg thing. It's so hard to become Cyborg as a kid. Like, you need a whole bunch of different pieces. His costume's ever changing. There isn't like that iconic logo. He's missing these pieces. And I'm like, he's such a great character for that transformation from like civilian to God in that one moment, you know? I just want them to like make a version of him that really sings like a classic Silver Age Justice League kind of character where he is the king of a city. He has his arch enemy. He has his own adventures, and he needs a spot at that table on Mount Olympus. He's like earned it, as opposed to him coming in as the rookie or as the new character. And I try to, anyway, transformation moment. He's a hard one to dress up as. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Chris, you have anything to say about that before I go in?
All you.
Go.
I've
heard the rant. Sorry, I'll say that. I've heard the rant.
You heard it, yeah. Listen, first of all, I never even thought about, Jason, I think you're really onto something. I never even thought about that transformation in one move as a child to become a hero and the iconic heroes that we know. That never even dawned on me. And for you to say that makes complete sense. You're right. You find a bed sheet or a pillowcase, you put it on as a cape, like whatever around your neck, boom, you can be one of like 7 people off the top of our head, heroes, right? You find a piece of rope, even an elastic band, boom, you can be Wonder Woman. Like there's all these things. You're right. And then it's like, this is going to sound corny, I'll explain, but like for Cyborg, Wolverine, boom, you did it. You did the thing. I was trying to come up with a funnier character, but I was like, I don't got one. But like, it requires a lot more imagination as a kid to be Cyborg. And what I mean, and kids have imagination, but then you got to be like, it takes experience to have that imagination to create that. Like, my arm is a cannon. And then other kids are like, no, it's not. It's just your arm. It's just your arm. You know what I mean? As opposed to when you have the cape on, you have one thing physical. They're like, oh, I kind of believe you a little bit because that's assisting the dream. I also think when they start to really reintegrate or integrate Cyborg into the Justice League at like who was it in the 2000s? It was the whose run was that? Because it was huge.
They brought him in with the Jeff Johns, Jim Lee.
Thank you. That was
New
it.
52.
Jeff Johns. Yeah. Well, I think it was. Yeah. I think that was it. Yeah. He just didn't work. It feels like you're just trying to diversify this group of people that just haven't had anybody who's a person of color in the OG story, and we all know that. And it's just, for me as a African Canadian, just as a Black comic book, as a Blurred, it doesn't fit. It doesn't ring true. I don't feel like it. And you said it, you nailed it. Everybody else is a leader of their people or a god of this or that, or they're a king or a queen or whatever. Cyborg's like a high school football player who ends up getting, and then like it's so if he's gonna rule anybody, he's just gonna rule the IT crowd or something. I don't know, but it's just doesn't work in the Teen Titan world. It's perfect. Just leave him there. It's fine. It's fine. He fits better, especially with the archetypes of the characters, their personalities, and who he is. He's the big hulking, football. It just works. But as a member of the Justice League, as a core member, a founding member, I'm never going to buy it. I'm literally not going to buy the issue. I'm not going to buy the bound. I'm not going to buy into the idea, man. It doesn't work. It's too hard.
So now that's my challenge, is I want to come up with a version of that you're going to buy, that you're going to buy into. And I'll tell you one twist on the character that I would do.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with all the other characters, they're always trying to power up Cyborg, tell you that he's connected to everything and he can do everything. And I would argue the more you make him like that, the less relatable he is.
Right.
So the second he opens up, like the catch would be, the second he opens up his system to the outside world to get into anyone else's computer, they can get into him.
Right.
Like a telepath without control. So if I can read your mind, now you can read mine. So I only use it at the last resort because I'm actually the most vulnerable. When I open up my mind to the cyber world, I'm at my absolute most vulnerable. I'm in the Odin sleep. You can just come and stab me and I'm done.
Yeah.
So you almost never do that unless you need to. But I would have him basically have his powers toned all the way down, where he is more like a strongman adventurer, and where he gets his strength is through the mechanical as opposed to the alien or as opposed to the magic. But he is still like your brawny, fun adventurer dude, but without all the extensions that make him a magician. Like he can basically do anything for any scene. But I think that actually takes away from the fun of the character. I think the limits on a character, that their boundaries are what make them human.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them interesting, is that you take that character and put him on adventures where we don't know how he's going to get. He can't just invent a new thing all of a sudden to get out of it. I mean, it's good for the slapstick of Teen Titans Go, you know, and it's good for artists that want to just draw more and more and more. But for the character to sit in my heart, I have to feel that I don't know how he's going to survive. I have to see his limits, and I have to see those limits get pushed. And I think if you almost made a comic book series that was a Silver Age Justice League in the rear view, and you have him come in and he's had his city that he's not tamed, but not conquered either, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's earned it, and he's one of the people that needs to be recruited because he has that, whether it's like a Silicon Valley because he's a tech guy, or whether they put him in Detroit like they have a couple times tried to do that, wherever they're going to put him. But he has his Commissioner Gordon. He has his Robin. He's the only one without a sidekick. They all have sidekicks.
Yeah.
All of them, but not him. You have all those pieces in play. It would feel like he walks in chest puffed, like I'm the goddamn strong man from my whatever city it is. And I think there's so much room to play with him and make him really interesting and feel classic, but at the same time, he does feel like a natural fit. But then again, maybe it's never going to be that way, and the Justice League is always going to have this problem. And okay, I'm going to push one more new thing. We really do need to go on to the comic. Have you guys noticed that every time that instead of actually putting a character that is black on the team, they just make Martian Manhunter portrayed by a black voice actor?
That was such a weird flex for me as a comic book reader. I never listen. We all know this. We've taken, and I say we. I'm speaking for all the blurs out there, for all the black people out there. We've taken Jazz. We've taken Panthro. We've taken there's certain characters that we're like, oh yeah, they black for sure. Not only do you find out later on when you get older and you do the research, you're like, oh wow, they're voiced by black actors. So you're like, oh, of course, that's why they sounded like that or they acted like that. But then it's like, I actually just forgot the question because I was trying to go through my my Rolodex of characters. Ask me that one more time, or ask the question one more time. Sorry, Jason, or give you a thought one more time.
I'm not really sure how to even phrase it, but is it a shortcut?
Oh, right.
Maybe a half-earned shortcut for diversity to just make Martian Manhunter the black character? Like, is that not enough? Is that not like? I don't know how to say this. Like, I don't know how to frame it. It feels like a half effort.
Yeah. It's just because diversity. It's the easiest guy. It's the easiest character that you can change because he doesn't look like everybody else anyway. So he can be anything. So, hey, you know what? Why don't we put the diversity on this guy? Yes, that was the thing. And it felt very weird to find that out. I think, where's the first time? I'm trying to remember the first time I saw that personified. I don't think it was a comic book. I actually think it was in like Supergirl or something, or I think it was some CW show where I was just like, wait, what? Like, huh? Or even did they do it in Justice League Unlimited?
Mm-hmm.
I think they did it there too.
He changes into a few different people in the series.
Yeah, because he changed into a white cop, I think, as well at one point.
That's like the classic. I mean, obviously, that's the Silver Age version of the characters. He is John Jones, a detective in Gotham City.
Right. But I think yes, I think it is weird. I think it feels weird. It's not offensive to me per se. It's just weird that all of a sudden it just feels like that's what we're jumping on board with. I don't know. It's hard to really nail it. It just doesn't feel as organic as like I'm trying to think of what.
Organic is a good word for it. I'll just say for the record, I'm completely down with any way of interpreting any character. Whether it's an age change, gender change, orientation change, race change. I'm down with any of it because the other version already exists. It doesn't change the past. It's a reinterpretation, and I'm down for all of it. I like when it like feels inspired.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm also down for the challenge. Like, hey, how is this different if we change this? Does this change the narrative? Like, oh, give me a new narrative. I'm interested in all of it.
Yeah.
So there are very, very few characters that like absolutely have to be white.
Yeah.
Like very, very, very few. And I think that, I mean, Miles Morales is like the best argument in favor for trying something new. Like,
dude, I don't even. I'm
Peter
getting
Parker's not
goosebumps
gone.
from that. Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps from that. Like that, Chris. You're like what's the Cyclops you're talking about? But your goosebumps moment. You know, when they got that right in the movies. I remember reading the Miles Morales arc. I'm actually getting a little teary just because it was so like that. That the first, I want to say like 7 issues, because there's something that ends up happening. It's a big, and you don't even see it coming, and it's like boom. You're like, oh my, like. And so I just feel like that character, he just made sense. Everything was fine. He was another Spider-Man, but you know what? Somehow, some way, it made sense because the regular Peter Parker was gone. Somebody else stepped up, and everything was kind of rehashed, if you will. And it still worked, man. And now they're still living in the same universe. We've gotten movies, we've gotten comic books with both of those characters doubling up on this. Right now, there's a comic book run that I'm collecting with Spectacular Spider-Man, and they're both in the book. Like, it's just, it's one of those characters that you're just like, nailed it. This is going to be forever. And now people know about it. That's some kids' Spider-Man. White Orb.
It's most kids.
That's their Spider-Man.
Most,
right?
For right here, right now, most kids' Spider-Man. If you think about it, you know, as comic readers, we often feel like we falsely feel like we are the keepers of the flame.
Right.
But I would actually flip it. I would say we're the minority as comic readers. It's the pop culture and the mass population that actually iterates these things throughout time for generations. And the version that gets to the widest audience is the one that reverberates usually the longest. There's a reason that it took them how many decades to shake the Adam West Batman, right? It took monumental comics and like the most massive movie up to that point to shake 23 years of that version of Batman. So the dominant version of Spider-Man right now is Miles Morales. But Peter's still sitting here on my desk. Peter's still on my shelf. There's like, it just showed there's room for both and. Like, I never in a million years would have imagined that the Spider-Verse as a concept would exist so comfortably with not just us, the mass, right? The whole world is like, yeah, Spider-Verse, cool. Let's give me more. Give me more. Let's see. And we're all like, yep, we're all going back to the theater for part 3 whenever it comes out. And we're at peace with all of it, it just shows you how really versatile these things are. And how when we get really hammered, like really boxed into one particular version, I'll show you how diverse I am, man. This is showing you. Ready?
Yeah, I can't.
Hugh Jackman can be Wolverine, and so can anyone else. Like, you can have a tall white guy,
a white Australian. Get out of here! Get out of
here! And you can also have 5'3" imaginary.
I hate this so much.
Come on, man. See what I'm saying?
I'm
flexible.
Last point on this for me.
I'm flexible.
I'm laughing too because I just watched after our pod last week.
Yeah.
I think it was less than 24 hours. And I was like, oh man, I gotta watch Pride of the X-Men again.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I got through it like that 24 or 22 minutes, however long it was. I was like, wow, like it's just the Australian Wolverine is so jarring. Like even if you didn't know the Wolverine that we have right now, it is so jarring that you're like, wait, what? Who made this? Who signed off on this? Who? Because Australians didn't. There's no way. There's no way.
The country of Australia signed off. Like,
whole country.
So we're doing this.
Yeah. We're like, you know what? Let's wrap it up. It's great.
Nigel. You finish your point, then I'm going to add to it.
Yeah, okay. This is no, you add to it now because I'm going to a different.
Did you know that that's not the first Australian Wolverine?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, but I just don't remember like just seeing it again after our conversation, being like, oh yeah, this is bad. Like it just reminded me again. It was just like, oh,
they were just going for a different version of diversity in the voice cast in like the early 80s on Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
They wanted to have like, you've got your, you know, African Storm, your all these different, you know, not really that many in that episode actually, but they just thought some to round out the cast. You have so many kind of New York and American centric characters. We're just gonna, I mean, no one cares. It just shows how little regard they have for Canadians, because it could just make him something else. That's really what was going on there. It wasn't that they were trying to do anything else, but they did it on Amazing Friends. And they just continued with it for that pilot, and then that was the end of it.
It was tough. The last thing I'll say on this and if we want to read the book, we can, was because we had mentioned Martian Manhunter, and then we also mentioned, like, you know, Miles Morales, just like who works in what space and how long. I'm sure you guys are familiar with Wonder Woman's, I think it's her sister, which is canon, Nubia. Do you know Nubia? Yeah. And now there's always been they've always been DC's always trying to pump out a Nubia book every, you know, I would say in the last decade, they've at least tried it 3 or 4 times. There's a newer iteration that just dropped, I think it was last year. I don't know if it's ongoing, but I do know that it's they've had quite a few issues of it. But for me, I'm into it. I'm just not a Wonder Woman collector in terms of like the overall storyline. I do pick up issues here and there. I love the covers of Wonder Woman. There's been some amazing variant covers in the last 3 years, like of all kinds of books. But I have picked up a couple of Nubia books, and it's nice. It's a good read because it makes sense. Like, that's another one for me that makes sense. You can't have an island of Amazons of all women and they're all white. There's no, maybe, but I like the diversity of this island. All different heights, different sizes, but they can all kick ass. And then they create their own flavors and styles based on that. I love it, man. So that's one of the books that works for me. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Gary, how you doing? Yeah, if there's a good, go, Chris, please.
I was gonna say, I think like there's a lot of when characters and stories, when there's an authenticity behind it, and by authenticity I mean an authentic approach to it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it comes through incredibly clear, and it translates incredibly well, and you those are the characters, those are the things that just to your point kind of make sense. And in whatever way they need to make sense for you, they translate well, they make sense, they communicate well. And I think when it's not done, when that is not at the heart of it, then that's where I think where you potentially come up with you know, flaws. You know? Yeah.
And in the very basic level, all good storytelling is about experiencing something that is not within you already. Like getting to walk in someone else's shoes, having empathy for other people in the world, seeing, whether it's through Miles' point of view or whatever character we're reading about, is you get to go on their adventure with them. And if that story is a good story and there's something to tell, it doesn't matter, of course, at all anything about the character's diversity. It's because their experience is what you're there for, their reaction, their emotion, their journey is what you're there for. And so if that inspiration is coming right from the writer, and there's a reason the character is the way they are, so that we can have this experience and go on that journey with them, it's going to come across. And if it's just put in there to fill out a quota, I'm also down for giving that a shot too. I mean, I come from the time period where I got to see the diversity hit screen noticeably, and whether I want it to be one way or another, I can't deny that the world I come from is one that is full of systemic racism on both the at every level, and I carry that with me. Like that's part of who I am. Is I'm a product of that world. And so when they make a new show and there's the crew of whatever ship, okay, we're gonna try and get some representation on this thing, and we gotta wash me out. Eventually it's for my kids. It's not for me. That they need to see a different world where they grew up in a world where Miles is Spider-Man, and Gwen is Spider-Woman, and Peter is Spider-Man. And then they're they would never even think twice.
Right.
They would never think twice. Like that's, and I'm there as like just to make sure that they get there too. Like to make sure that that's the world that they see. That none of that stuff matters because hopefully one day it'll be a level playing field and it's a meritocracy. But it hasn't been a meritocracy in my lifetime, and I can't pretend that it is. And like that, none of this matters. Of course, it matters. And so sometimes we're going to get characters where it is going to be a little forced because change doesn't happen unless you kick a butt once in a while. And sometimes the changes have to be maybe a little less inspired. I love when they are inspired, but I'm definitely doing my best to be open-minded when they're not that inspired. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. It makes sense.
So if like Martian Manhunter is going to be the black guy on the team, like I wish we could come up with a better solution, but all right, like okay, I'm still loving it.
Yeah, I dig it, man. I'm not mad at it. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot more books that I'm mad at, and like that one's doesn't need to be one of them.
For sure.
But I mean, it's just I really love. I'm trying to choose my words wisely, but I think just generally, I really love where comics are at in terms of the variety that you can pick from, the variety that I can pick from. And I don't mean just like black creator owned or black, like illustrator black, like I just mean the breadth, the diversity of books that are out there. Yeah. I can't remember if we talked about it or not, but real quick, like even when I went to TCAF a couple weeks ago, like my haul was massive. And honestly, every book they're just right over here, but every book is completely different. You know what I mean? Like it's I've got things that kind of remind you of Prince of Persia meets, Pirates of the Caribbean to, a kid has anxiety. That's really a biography of the actual author, this nerdy black guy. And he's on the cover though. It's so like, everything is here. And they have the three brothers. I don't know if you've heard of the McElroy brothers. They have a podcast called My Brother, and Me. Bim Bam, and I have they're into D&D, and so they wrote a book that's like got that kind of Critical Role feel to it. You know what I mean? Like it's like I just love that kind of thing that I can just take off from comics for a second, jump into a graphic novel, and something that has so much different flavor to it, and the diversity just feels right.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's a great time to be consuming story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Really
yeah. Because there's more story being told that we have access to than ever.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm reading the Group of Seven comment. The Group of Seven comment. That's very funny. You're right. And that's me just derailing the whole thing, just having a conversation with you guys. So sorry about that.
We love chatting, man. We love chatting.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this, is to have a hangout. And
to bring it back full circle, you had recommended, Jason, I should start around the 170 mark or just read from the beginning, do whatever. But I started reading Alpha Flight because of you guys, and I think I mentioned it to you, Jason, because I know. But listen, I was watching the podcast with you guys. I think I was doing something else too at the time. I was kind of multitasking, but listening to you guys, and then you just inspired me to read. I was like, I haven't read Alpha Flight, and I feel, as a comic book reader, as a Canadian comic book reader, I want to take that in, just because I know the characters. I'm not unfamiliar with the characters, but I just never read the book. I was like, let me just jump in. And it's just like, yeah, you're right. It's not great, but it's fun to read all the references they hit you over the head with in the first 5 issues. You're like, guys, we get it. Actually, more than that. We're like, we get it. Yeah. But there's a lot of things I took away from it that was really cool in terms of what he was doing in terms of storytelling, and just different transitions and different ways that the thought bubbles were happening. And I just like the book a lot. So but anyways,
Burden was awesome.
Yeah.
How far did you get, by the way?
I think I'm up to 20 something.
So you got to the part where they kill Guardian. That's awesome.
Yes.
Issue 12.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm way past that. Yeah.
So good. Good.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah. All right. There you go. Here we go.
We're doing it. We're jumping in.
Uncanny 196. It's coming. There it is.
Coming in hot.
All right. Now, Nigel, we do have a few characters that Chris and I regularly do.
Okay, you guys do those. Great.
But you, as a guest, you get to sit in my chair. You get to do, Mikasa Sukasa, like whatever character you want to do, they're yours. We won't cut you off. I usually narrate, but if you want to narrate, you can. So whatever is your desire, whatever makes you happy, you get to do.
Oh yeah, well, I definitely don't want to narrate. I told you guys before, reading is not my forte. So I mean, I can read. Like I said, guys, I can read. Yeah, no, I'll do something else. I don't know. I think I want to tackle Storm. I want to have some fun with Storm.
She's yours, dude. She has a couple pages, not that much. But
yeah,
I think she has maybe one page.
Yeah, she has one page.
So, and what else? Who else do you want to be?
Oh, I don't know. Excuse me for a second. I don't know what that blonde dude's name is, but he's got a lot of stuff to say. That I didn't finish the book. The guy at the beginning, but that goes into the shop, and Professor X is like, "Who's that guy?" And then that guy's just there.
That's the Beyonder, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it the Beyonder?
That's Beyonder. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let me be that guy.
Do you want to be
experiencing humanity?
Yeah,
okay, so you get to be the Beyonder. That's cool. The blonde guy.
Yeah, I'll be the blonde guy.
Are you any interest in any of the X-Men, like whether it's Xavier or Magneto, Kitty or Rachel or Nightcrawler or
yeah, maybe I'll be Kitty. I tried a Nightcrawler thing when I was reading it today, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
That's all good. Chris has got that covered.
Yeah. I'll be Kitty, and maybe the Beyonder. I feel like I'm taking up a lot of space.
No, that's beautiful. No. And then you'll see, like, if it's not a character that's reoccurring, we just spontaneously, whoever finished the last sentence, usually the next guy kind of takes up, because there's often like a gang of characters and we'll just back and forth and, chime in. It's never going to be smooth unless you rehearse it, and we're not going to ever rehearse. So that defeats the whole purpose of all of it. So
great. I do want to give a shout out to Allie right now. Her comments.
I know, right?
This is like splitting up action figures when you're a kid. If you grab Storm in the first round, your brother is going to grab Mags because he's your favorite toy. Yeah, it's totally like that. The only difference is none of us want to be proprietary. We actually, it's the other direction. It's like we want each other to have the joys of doing these things, as opposed to being a kid where you want to get a hold of your favorite toy as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
So I'm going to change the view here to make it all about the comic, and we're going to get our way through. 196, here we go. That only took us an hour. You guys are the best.
Are you guys reading it from the screen, or do you have a different screen up?
I have the comic in front of me.
Okay, what about you, Chris? Are you reading it from
I'm reading it from the screen, yeah.
Okay,
I have in the background, I have a larger version of that's then projected onto the screen. So
okay, cool.
I have like a back end version that's easy.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay, cool. I love it.
Okay. Should we get into this?
If you want, Nigel, you can pull it up on your phone and then enlarge or whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Love it. Great.
All right, here we go. Right. Columbia University, New York City. Advanced Psychology 317, taught by Charles Xavier, PhD. What was that? We've got no choice. He knows who we are. He knows what we did. We've got to kill him. A Stan Lee presentation starring the Uncanny X-Men, Chris Claremont, Romita Jr., Dan Green, and as always, Glynis Oliver and Tom Warzakowski on every issue so far. It's been amazing. And Ascenti, editor, and of course, Jimmy Shoots, editor-in-chief. I thought I heard in this hall some of my students. They're planning a murder. But who? Which is the victim? And which the killer? How easy it would be to probe their minds, learn the truth. I'm maddening that I cannot. With all that's happened since I was mugged and very nearly slain, my psychic resources have been stretched so thin I can no longer screen out other people's thoughts. To avoid being driven mad, that racket, I've been forced to use drugs. So many drugs to reduce my telepathic sensitivity to nearly nothing. This momentary flash contact was a fluke. But while I may be powerless, mind blind, I'm still far from helpless. This mystery must be solved, the crime prevented. East Africa, the Serengeti Plain.
Well, Aurora, you are home. Have you found what you are seeking? Solace, a time of peace for relaxation and reflection. That much at least, but not the answer. To who and what am to who and what I am or where I belong. That sound. A lion? He wears a silver mane. His hair matches my own. Is that an omen? He seems friendly. Goddess! No! How could you shoot such a noble beast? No!
My goodness.
I believe, brother, we've seen the last of that interfering, insufferably arrogant witch.
A magnificent shot, Andrea. But I wish you'd left that pleasure to me. After all, I was the one she struck.
The insult was avenged, Andreas. That is what matters.
Poaching is one thing, but I didn't bargain on murder.
You worry needlessly, Kramer. The bribes we paid will more than guarantee our safety. As far as the authorities are concerned, we were never here, and this incident never happened. Unless, of course, a foolish guy takes it into his head to say something he shouldn't. That would be most regrettable. We'll take the lion for a trophy. Leave the savage to rot.
New York City. Now, I'm not sure who is actually speaking yet in this. Is it? Oh, I think it's Xavier for the first two, maybe? And then Kitty.
And then Kitty says, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And which one's Kitty? The second? No,
the
last
third
one.
Yeah.
Last one.
Aurora got our pictures in Nairobi, Rogue. Her letter says she likes your new hairstyle. She sounds really happy. Kitty's. Oh, no, that is Kitty at first. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
No,
do you mind doing that again? And you do the thing? It's Xavier who's second.
Okay. So it's Kitty who's first and third.
Yeah.
Here we go. Aurora got our pictures in Nairobi. Rogue. In Nairobi, Rogue. Her letter says she likes your new hairstyle. She sounds really happy.
Kitty, save that for later, please. I'm conducting a briefing.
Sorry, Professor.
You now know everything I do. Among my class are a band of potential murderers and their victim. I have no empiric proof, however, which precludes my involving the police. My hope is that the X-Men will be able to discover those involved and thereby prevent the crime from occurring. Since we've no idea when the killers will strike, time must be of the essence. Just quick comment here. Around this table, there are characters we're not necessarily expecting. We haven't seen in X-Men comics Magneto join the band, but he is there in full conference.
Right.
And that's something that we would have seen if we read Secret Wars issue 1. He's the one in the previous issue of X-Men in 195. Magneto is the one that calls the X-Men to Congress, like to have discussion, and that's to deal with the threat of the Beyonder. So since that moment, he has been hanging around, and next to him is a blonde that I'm going to assume in this moment is Lee Forrester, right. Captain of a boat, former lover of Cyclops.
Oh, wow.
And then there's also this new member. I don't know if you guys know about Deli Shopping Woman.
Oh, yeah.
She's a new mutant character. She has incredible taste in meats, and she's got the best bargain sense. She's shopping at the deli. Okay, there we go.
Amazing.
I have a list of my students together with where they live. That's not inappropriate, trust me. Some are away for the weekend. We'll assume that places them out of danger. Well, at least temporarily. We must reach the rest tonight.
Oh, is this me now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I hope the prof isn't scanning my thoughts, Colossus. Because they aren't very charitable. Magneto is a villain. Crumbs. Not that long ago, he nearly killed me. How come all of a sudden we have to be nice to him?
They look so suspicious, Magneto. The X-Men don't like you. They don't want you here.
Hey, Nigel, be Magneto.
Oh, yeah, okay, no problem. Is that me now? Oh, yeah, it is. In the past,
It's
Alitas?
pronounced, yeah, Alites.
Elites? Okay.
Yeah,
In the
something like that.
past, Elites, I've given them good reason to feel so.
Great guy, that Nimrod. Anyone deserves a front page headline. It's him. Man's been doing an A number on First Rate Job. You know what I mean? The Big Apple's own hero. Somebody who looks out for the little guy instead of spending all of his time saving the world or the universe or whatever.
What an ass.
Wolvie, what's up? You've been staring at the prof all evening. You've been watching him for days. Something ailing you?
Maybe. Maybe not.
Well, I want to help.
I'm obliged, Rogue, but you can't.
Professor, why not probe your students? Why put us to all this trouble and take so great a risk with the victim's life?
I would if I could, Shadowcat. But I am in the midst of a delicate experiment, which requires me to neutralize my telepathic abilities. By the time the inhibitor drugs wear off, it may be too late. That medicine doesn't affect Professor Xavier's mental shields. They're as strong as ever. I can't read even a single thought, but I don't have to know he's lying. Kitty senses it too. I don't understand. Why would he do such a... Huh? That man. I've seen him before. I know him. Or I've never seen him before, but I know him. I never took my eyes off him. He never moved. How'd he get inside?
Hey, what are you doing? Where's your manners?
What are manners? Define the term, please.
You a foreigner, Pally? Okay. You want something, you don't grab for it. You ask nice. You say please, you say thank you. That sort of thing. What's the matter? They didn't teach you nothing at home?
Please say thank you, that sort of thing.
Ah, you got it, fella.
This substance appears part organic, part inorganic. Other entities seem to ingest them. But to what purpose? Will it affect the strange emptiness I perceive within my adopted body form?
That's food. Eat it, and you won't feel hungry. Your presence... I felt it in Los Angeles. We have met. Who are you?
Ray? Rachel.
Kitty.
Why'd you leave the table? Who are you talking to?
He's here, Kitty.
Who?
Gone. He vanished.
No one was ever here, kiddo. Yeah. Who you were speaking to the thin air?
But I didn't imagine. Hey, where's that? Oh, sorry, this is the guy.
Hey, where's that foreign creep? He left without paying. He ripped us off. Too bad, Nimrod, my good buddy Nimrod ain't here. But he'd teach that bum a lesson.
I like that guy.
I know, me too.
Something very weird is going on, but please don't tell the others. They probably think I'm crazy enough as it is.
We do not. You are at least as sane as Rogue.
Thanks a lot.
The only presence Ray spotted in LA was the Beyonder. Does that mean the louse in the Manhattan is following us? I'd give anything for the power to wipe him off the face of creation. It's no less than he deserves. And where's Nightcrawler? He's team leader. Now more than ever, we need him with us.
St. Anne's Church on the Lower East Side.
Father Brown.
Nightcrawler.
Forgive me if I startled you.
Well, teleporters take a little getting used to.
Especially when they look like demons.
I've seen worse. Something's seriously wrong, Kurt. I can hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I need to talk, Michael, or I shall go mad. I fear I have beheld the face of God, only to discover that he is a monster. The X-Men were abducted by a being called the Beyonder. He destroyed an entire galaxy and used its substance to create a fantastic world whereon we and other heroes and supervillains fought a cosmic war, hidden from the eyes of the universe. He performed what I can only call miracles, just like in the Bible. And now he has come to Earth. Father, since joining the X-Men, I have encountered beings so powerful, they would seem to any of us as gods. Yet compared to the Beyonder, they are nothing. What then does that make him? Is this God? I tell myself this cannot be, but if he is not, who is? Do you understand, Michael? This creature can destroy the Earth in an instant. How can the Lord permit this entity to threaten humanity, perhaps all creation? Unless the Beyonder is God. But if he is, how then can I believe in such a thing? My faith sustained me in times of utter despair, when death seemed certain and I was sure there was no hope. But now I search for it and I find only emptiness. That blessed inner light has fled from my soul. Thanks to the Beyonder, I am hollow inside. I am lost.
Just a quick comment, like this is another huge step towards Nightcrawler being a religious character. You know,
Right.
We've seen over the last 50 issues it get introduced for the first time that he is a spiritual person, and then this is, you know, obviously a crisis of faith at a very profound level. So maybe this feels almost like ground zero in a way, where he's at his most religious up to this point right now, and every version of the character after this feels like it's on this path, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I really like this page.
Yeah,
This like, it's not, the panels are like, nothing is fantastic or whimsical about it. It's just very grounded, and it's very like somewhat, I guess, symmetrical, but it's just the, I guess, the dialogue, the monologue. It just really, to your point, you know, it's really grounding. I really enjoy it. And just, yeah, the perspective too, like if it's his fist hitting and the coffee spilling, like you can just picture this, you know, the tension here between him and
Look at the, in terms of, Nigel, truly, in terms of symmetry too, look at panel 2 and panel 4. I mean, they're separate, but it looks
right. It reads. Oh,
it
yeah.
reads continuation when you look at the page, you step back, right?
Right. Yeah.
That's actually really good. I like that, Chris.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say, we know that these things get written Marvel method, meaning that at this point in, 10 years into his run, Claremont is running the show. Artists that come on are following his lead as opposed to clashing with him and taking leads on them like Byrne did. So Romita is sticking to their shared discussion. They might even have notes that he's followed, but the script is not written yet and is not available to Romita when he pencils it. So you can see that there's opportunities for Michael, the priest, to speak. Claremont just doesn't write any. But like the cameraman pans to the priest to give him a chance to speak. And Claremont's like, I'm not done my monologue, dude. Keep going. So Michael doesn't even say even one line. Like there's 2 panels there or 3 he could have spoken.
Yeah.
But it's Nightcrawler's chance to really go. So it's just neat to think like maybe in Romita's mind, he thought this was a back and forth, a conversation, as opposed to, like he called it, Nigel, a monologue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also like the crisis of faith for sure. And there's been a few times where Nightcrawler's had these full page and a half kind of monologues about a number of topics that are is on his mind, whether it's spiritual or philosophical. And they're really beautiful moments. But this to me carries extra weight because he's currently team leader. Yeah. So not only is he experiencing this crisis of faith, but then you juxtapose his leadership as well of the team on this, and he's really going through some stuff.
Yeah, they're all counting on him,
Yeah,
for sure. Later, Columbia University.
Hurry it up, will ya? Back off. This is delicate equipment. Some of the stuff we swiped has never been tested. You want I should make a mistake? I want you should shut up and work faster. This is taking too long.
Relax, will ya? Jeez, guys.
Right.
Hit the floor. Not a sound from anyone. It's campus security.
Like, no more fooling around. Let's finish and get out of here. We've pushed our luck far enough.
It's done. The mutie's as good as dead.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this remind anyone of anything, by the way?
Which, the Quick Bunny?
No, the device under the desk in the campus office.
Oh, the animated series with the time-traveling Bishop, Wolverine, and Storm?
One Man's Worth, parts 1 and 2.
Thank you. That's what it's called. Killing
Nice.
Professor X.
I believe they had it on the door in that one. Was it opening the door that triggered it?
It was the door that triggers it. Yeah.
But this idea that the assassination of Professor Xavier is happening on a university campus, triggered by him going into his office in some way.
Right.
That is pulled right from this. Obviously, not literally, not done a literal one-to-one, but that seed is here, and that's a good inspiration for it down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, nearby, anything, Ray? Oh shit! Sorry, that's you.
Oh,
It's
anything?
you.
Yeah. Anything, Ray?
Lots, but not of any use. This island's so crowded, so many people, so many thoughts. It makes finding the proverbial needle in the haystack easy by comparison.
Gotta hand it to Magneto, though. This idea of his could be right on the money, using your telepathic talent in place of the profs. It's strange picturing him as a good guy, but then, who am I to talk?
In my era, Magneto was both friend and hero. He took Professor Xavier's place and led the X-Men after
X-Men 97! Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Hey, kiddo, that's your past, but still our future. For us, those events haven't happened yet, and maybe they won't. Charlie ain't dead, and this Earth ain't nowhere near as nasty as the one you remember.
Rogue. I saw a flash of pain and fear from that alley below. A boy's being attacked.
Mugging.
3-1 odds. Nice bunch of guys.
Let's take him.
I love what Rachel's wearing, by the way. Like
The
Flash
legwork?
Dance.
I
Yeah.
was saying, she's coming from the studio. What's happening here?
Yeah. Exactly.
This is not the first time. Like, we've seen Kitty Pryde dabble in such outfits as well. But yeah, this is like, she doesn't have a superhero persona yet. So they keep just putting her in funny clothes. And yeah, it reminds me of the 20-minute workout is what I'm going to say. And I'll leave it at that.
Nighty-night, suckers.
2 down. And my telepathic shock ram makes it a clean sweep. You all right? Did they hurt?
You flew.
Does it everybody?
Who? What? Are you muties?
Is that important? We came to help.
Get away from me!
Look what the jerk was writing on the wall when he jumped.
It says, for those who are just listening and can't see on the screen, maybe your screen's small, it says, Nimrod #1, muties die. And I mean, I wish he could at least come up with a rhyme of some kind.
Right.
Like Nimrod #1, muties should be done.
You know?
Those are not great.
Your world is nowhere near as nasty as mine. Open your eyes, Rogue. Everything I endured, all the horror, is repeating itself. Perhaps not exactly the same way, but the general trend's the same. I've already seen everyone I love and cherish slaughtered once in my life, but I won't let it happen again. Never again. And she smashes the wall. Wow.
Yikes. Okay. This entity, Rachel's power is extraordinary. She is akin to a young star that has just begun to glow. Of all the beings I have encountered on this world, she is potentially the most like me. How strange. She seems unaware of how brightly she burns. She and her fellow entities are most intriguing. I will observe them all a while longer.
It's subtle, but to me, this lettering is different than the other ones.
I noticed that too.
It's maybe just a different hand. Maybe it was added in afterward, like a paste up. I'm not going to go to my other version of this in the phone book style essentials to see if there's any trace of it, and I'm not going to look it up online either. But I wonder if it's a paste up. Meanwhile, on the low library steps,
this is Kitty.
Yes,
yes,
Kitty.
it
Yep.
is.
Another report, Wolvie, from Rogue and Ray. No, Joy. We've covered well over half the prof's list and found nothing. I hope that's good news. Prof just radioed. He and Magneto are heading for his faculty office. Give me that.
Your funeral, pumpkin.
It's like smoking weed for the first time.
Warned you.
How can you stand that awful thing?
Acquired taste. Besides, with my healing factor, smoking doesn't do me any harm. Same can't be said for you.
No fear of that. This is one vice I'll skip. Assuming I live. Oh, eyes are watering. Oh. What do you think of the Prof and Maggie? He says Magneto's changed for the better, but how do we know? How can we or anyone be sure?
We all got doubts, pumpkin. Time will tell. I changed. You've changed. Aurora, Rogue. We all have. Since we joined the X-Men, why not him?
Suppose he's fooling the professor? Or somehow has him under his control? I mean, did you believe for an instant that story about some stupid experiment? He looks sick to me, Logan. I'm really worried.
Me too, Kitty.
Why won't he level with us?
Who knows? My instinct says Maggie's legit. As for the rest, I say trust Charlie. Play his hand through to the end. We owe him too much to do any different.
I do really like the smoking and the ridiculous amount of coughing, but to the point where there's tears in her eye.
Yeah.
Like that's just such a small detail. I think I might have mentioned on last week's pod. Like they're just those little details. Somebody mentioned the mask of Wolverine breathing when he was in the hospital in X-Men 97, and just like the fogging up the mask. That it's that kind of detail for me, and I think that's really wicked. Like I know exactly how that feels. Exactly.
Me too.
Oh, yeah. I think we all know how that feels.
Yeah. At least once, everybody. At least once. Okay. I guess so. Gotta run, partner. This next bunch of suspects is mine.
Take care, pumpkin.
Don't I always?
I love Wolverine in like this black turtleneck.
Yeah, it's good look.
It's such a different look for him, but I dig it.
He's guest lecturing on campus.
He has mellowed out so much in like the last 20 issues.
I feel like The Rock and his fanny pack got it from this panel right here. If you don't know that image, Google it. Rock black turtleneck, and you'll see Dwayne The Rock Johnson. That's it. That's the look right there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's such a pain sometimes having these absolutely terrific powers. I can pass through walls and walk on air, and yet be unable to tell a soul. I hate lying, but for my safety, maybe even survival, and that of people I care for, I have to. What makes me so horrible, so fearsome, simply because I'm a mutant? The sixth floor is for storage. It should be empty, especially at this hour. And it is. All of a sudden, I'm freezing. Like I just got passed through a ghost or something. Gotta be nerves. I'm all alone up here. Wolvie'd love this. He'd probably laugh and say, the kid's got too flaming much imagination for her own good. Can I help it if he's right?
Awesome Beyonder, by the way. Like this, it looks so cool. Him just standing there, you know, that's nicely rendered. That was really funny, Nigel.
Thank you.
A minute later, one flight downstairs in a computer physics lab.
What are we gonna get some results, Phil?
Be cool, John. Be patient. Worrying won't make things happen any faster.
We'll make
what happen? Oh wait,
sorry, you're right. No, you're right.
Is that me or no?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's you.
Okay. What make what happen?
Pride. What are you doing here?
I saw the lights on, Roger, and figured I'd stroll up and see what was cooking. You guys run an experiment? Why didn't you tell me? I'm part of this seminar too, you know.
It's a private project.
Oh, hey, may I? Thanks a lot. I'm starved. Anchovies. Ugh. Everybody got very tense in the moment I walked in. Something's not kosher. But what? Drugs? Or have I hit pay dirt? No, couldn't be. This crowd, murderers? Not a chance.
We locked the doors, Kitty, and set the alarms. How'd you get inside the building?
Give me a break, Bobby. I know that hardware inside and out. Bypassing it was child's play.
I hadn't thought of this till now, Brat. But you attend Charles Xavier's private school upstate.
Common knowledge, so what?
You a mutie, then, Pride? Like him?
Gee, I don't know, Phil. Are you a N-word? Hard pass?
Watch your mouth.
Watch yours. Especially when you use words like that and then try to be all intentionally hurtful. All of a sudden, Phil, I don't much like you anymore or your buddies. I think I'll be on my way.
Let's pause there for a minute. Yeah, totally. 1985. Chris Claremont, Marvel Comics, throw the N-word into the book. This is the second time that we've had the N-word in a Marvel comic around this time period.
Ooh.
First one in X-Men was, of course, in the graphic novel we have not yet read on the show, God Love Man Kills, and Kitty uses it again in that one. And there's other like offensive language in this one. There is an Afrikaans word used for a black person too, referring to Storm earlier in the issue that we skipped over like we did last time. And like sometimes I think like 85 is so long ago, it was a different time. Good excuse, sure. But like I said earlier, this got reprinted in 2011 in the Essentials version. So that is like really, obviously not long ago. You can do the math. But the language is still included there. So like Marvel either forgot, the editor didn't do their work, they doubled down, whatever it's going to be. But it feels like Claremont is really trying to be edgy and without maybe... whether that's just his go-to move in this moment is like he's trying to, I think, if I'm going to try and like put myself in his mindset, he's trying to really amp up the intensity of what mutie means by trying to create this false equivalency without considering the broader consequences of this kind of language. I don't know, Chris, Nigel, do you guys have a take on this?
Chris,
like,
go ahead.
Sure, I think that's my take exactly. I think, Jay, is the idea that it's this false equivalency. I think it's this idea that's like using, like writing that in specifically to try to demonstrate that his fake world that he's created that has mutants in it would be comparable to hear that term for reasons of what that particular community of mutants has gone through. But because it's a made up story in a comic book, when it's used in this, it does not land at all anywhere near to that. And so like, of lived experience of, to your point, like you said, they're false equivalents. Like, so I can maybe understand something the right word, but like see why someone would try to put that in is like this, it's going to be this to demonstrate this environment that these fictional characters are in, but it's almost so off the mark in terms of actual reality when you're picking this comic. I just don't think it goes anywhere and lands absolutely probably. I mean, to us, to this audience, it lands way off. I'm hoping in 1985 there was also some thought about it landing way off, but I mean, also that's 40 years ago. So
Nigel, I mean, you're reading this one for the first time. Like, what? Yeah. How does this hit you when you see this?
Well, I think Chris, the word you're looking for is intention. We understand the intention of this idea, but Jason and Chris as well, you guys both nailed it. It's the fact that we know this is fiction and the intention is there, and I understand it, but because that word has so many connotations to it, it's so heavy, it just takes you out of the book for a second. It takes you out and you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like the muty thing it's not a thing. It's not a thing in humanity in the real world. So when I read something like this, unfortunately, I mean, now that I'm kind of a grown man, I can read it and I'm like, well, and I do my own justifications for it, which is, okay, it was 85, a different time, and I do this thing. Okay. And I find some kind of rationale for it. It's really kind of unforgivable because it just shouldn't. Somebody missed it and it should have been caught. It shouldn't have been flagged because it's too much. If I was a kid when I read this, when I was younger, when I would have read this, I for sure would have been like, I'm done with this book, or I would have found out who the writer was, and I would have been angry for too long. And would not have read. All it takes was this sentence for me to put this book down and burn the title in my brain, and then just never pick up another one again. Wow. I've done it before, you know what I mean? So, but again, because I know I'm older, I'm like, all right, let me just skip over this. I understand the intention, but it hurts, man. I mean, we've watched, maybe we haven't, but watched movies that have, that drop the N-word that are trying to be the equivalent of whatever the situation is. Again, it hits a little harder in reality because it is reality and because of probably the time period that this movie is being made. So hence the dialogue. When you read this in 85, you're just like, whoa, man, that's you went a little too far here.
Yeah. It also feels like in the movies that I've watched where it's being used in like the context of, let's just say, like American slavery and
sure, yeah,
and it's like slave owners talking to what they perceive as, their property and all that terribleness. Like when I hear it, the actors in the really good movies I've had the chance to watch, like you can see how hurt they are in their eyes. You can see that it is such a sharp word. And in this, like for Kitty to throw this one out, this doesn't even feel like it's on brand for her as a person.
Yeah.
To like pick the word that is the most hurtful that she can possibly say to this guy.
Who we're getting information that she's friends with, not that she would like hang out with them all the time, but it's implied that they're friends, or at least they know each other from class and they do experiments together and stuff. Like she just said that a couple bubbles ago, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, you're like, I'm going to drop the most horrendous word I can to not only to you, but to your whole race to make a point because you think I'm a mutant or whatever. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it doesn't work on any level. I'm still shocked every time that I even think about it being in this comic book that they have openly said is geared towards, 10 to 13 year olds.
That's wild.
I remember 1985 like it was yesterday. I do not remember throwing around this kind of language ever in my life. Like it was never comic book language.
Mm-hmm.
Never. It was never appropriate. I'm shocked that it happened, but it did, and it's there for kids all over to be hurt by or to be shocked by, whatever their reaction is going to be. Yeah, blown away. Gee, I don't know, Phil. So, backstory. I had invited you to be on this before I read the issue, and then I read it. I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Like, obviously I'm not gonna backtrack for like I message Chris, like, Chris, have you read it yet? You won't believe. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So I'm really...
for the audience out there, I mean, listen, Jason did his due diligence. Was like, hey man, I want to flag this immediately, and I want to apologize first. And you were very gracious about it, and it's and so I thank you for that. I know that this obviously will not be the last time I'm on. I'll tell you that much. Can't have a brother on and then there's an N word in the comic and then be like, cool, man, never on the podcast again. That's not happening. Redemption. Thank you. But yeah, but we did, Jason and I, we're buds, man. We're friends. So it was great to have an open conversation about this and knowing that, like, boom, it's one line and there's a couple other things in this book, but having a conversation about it and being open with each other and me telling him my feelings about it and him doing the same, or you listening really, and then providing your feedback, which is great. So it was nice to have that. So I felt respected and I felt listened to, and I felt like I was in a safe place before I came on the pod. So it's all good.
There you go.
Oh, side note, I should say that right now my palate is being satiated by a black-owned 0% beer from Mascot Brewery. It's called Stuntin'. This is a 0% sour right here. Just so everybody knows, that's what I'm rocking today. Again, keeping it black, y'all. Got my Negro Leagues cap on. Shout out to the Negro Leagues. And not only is it one cap, but I got a whole bunch. But we're not doing that today, though. We're not doing that today. There it is. Boom, Negro. We're not doing it today, though. We will after we read this book. I'll show you a couple of them. But I just want to represent. I came in like full black for this, like full black. I was like, I'm gonna make sure that we're full black. Yes.
Speaking of the Negro Leagues, can you talk about your hat for a second while I get something?
Yeah, sure.
Talk about your hat. Tell us a little bit about it.
This one is I believe the Louisville White Sox, I think. And it's one of my faves because it's just a nice, clean, look at this. It's just a nice L on there. Got that red button. Look at you can see the script, like how that comes up. How that comes up off there. So the stitching is nice. Look at this. Ooh, look at this side patch right here. Southern Negro League. I'm still getting used to this. There you go. It's so bright, so hot. All right. And you got a nice little Negroes Leagues back in the patch in the back, which I love. Obviously, you got that classic Kelly green under visor there. You got the white band in there. 5950 curved with my steamer. Boom, fits perfectly, immaculately on my head. So this is one of my faves. I like it because it's just clean. It's a simple black and red. Wear it anywhere. Wear with anything. It's good and it has a story. I mean,
it's a beautiful one.
It's
for sure.
The design, the L is gorgeous. It's
unreal. It's there's a couple other ones that have monograms and they're just to die for. Like I'll show you the ones after we read this book. I'll show you them very quickly, but they're just they're killer. So it's one of my faves.
It's such a beautiful cursive L, and given I have an L last name, and I've never been able to. I haven't practiced in 50 years. I've never been able to do a cursive L as beautiful as that.
It's so old school, and it's like it's pretty balanced. You have to stare at it, and you're like, I don't know if it is, but it's pretty balanced. Like the top curve, I know is a little deeper than the flatter one at the bottom, but it just looks good. It's just a nice shape. It's a nice So,
do you know this one, Nigel?
I have that one.
Okay,
I have that one. I have to check.
True story of the 1934 Chatham Colored All Stars.
Right.
By friend of the channel, Scott Chandler, who
and you do know that's this.
It's gorgeous, so good.
Oh,
sorry, Chris, I'm coming.
I might not have that.
That's this, right?
That's amazing. I was going to talk about that. That's hilarious that you were.
I honestly was not wearing this specifically for the show.
What is this, Black History Month? What are we doing? What's happening right now?
What are we doing? But I was saying, so 1934, Chatham Colored All-Stars, Ontario baseball champs, right there. An incredible story. Our buddy Scott Chandler did the mini comic. There's a couple of books out about it. As soon as I heard this story, we got that comic at TCAF like a few years ago. And as soon as I heard that story, I was like, baseball history, all this stuff. I got to learn more about this. Nice. And I wanted a cap. I wanted some merch. I wanted the story's amazing. All of it. And so I was like trying to find, is anyone going to make a okay, so I'm gonna do it. Turns out, Google find this guy in Toronto. It's called Clutch85.
Okay.
He does his own custom caps, and he does a series called it's called Hidden History, and it's to bring the stories of often like Black athletic teams in Canadian history to the forefront. And he redid this one, which I like. I adore it. I adore it. And he also does. Again, going back to some history here, there is in the East Coast of Canada, there was something called the Colored Hockey League, which is the late, like the early days of hockey, right?
Yep.
Organized hockey. He's replicated hockey jerseys with some of those teams.
Yeah.
From Africville, anyway, awesome stuff. All to say, there you go. There's the shout out. But love the hat, love the story. I'm glad you brought your collection of hats because those are gorgeous.
Thank you.
And, look at that.
Already on the site, man. I'm going to order one of those right after.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm literally on the site. So,
his name's Genio. He's the nicest guy. He was like, I had to wait a week or something. He felt like terrible, and he sent me a second hat. It was, anyway, please, check his stuff out. Clutch85, check it out.
All right, yeah, I'm on the site, man. This is fantastic, guys. Look at us, man.
Look at us.
Just diversifying this pod. I'm just diversifying this pod. I'm the Martian Manhunter of this pod.
You're the.
Wait, no, I'm the mouse. You're right. Back to the back to the book. Yeah.
Whoever you want.
Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. Too funny. Oh my gosh. So here she goes. She's having a tough time with Phil here.
She doesn't like anchovies. Here we go.
Yeah, doesn't like anchovies.
Yeah. So she just basically said that she's gonna walk out. And he says, "Not yet, kitty. Not till we get some answers."
I've warned you before, Phil. You play with that gun, someone's gonna get shot.
Yeah, maybe you.
You sure you want to go with this? You sure you want to go through with this, Mark? If I'm a mutant, do you think it's wise to cross me? And if I'm not, how do you think assaulting a 15-year-old girl is going to look on your records? Let's call this quits, guys. Before things get out of hand. Mace, my eyes, they're burning. I'm going to be sick. What? Chloroform? Can't concentrate. To face. Stupid girl. Let them get the drop on you, and now you're nailed.
What do we do with it, Phil?
Same as with Xavier, Johnny boy. We waste the beauty.
No.
So I'm gonna, let it slide. Of course, I don't know if you guys can tell in the chat, but Nigel actually fell on the floor. He slowly fell on the floor as his character got chloroformed.
Yeah.
He's so method in this.
Yeah,
so
method, baby.
Nigel.
Yeah, man. Hire me. Method, baby. You know what I mean?
Like, this is the character that, like, within the last year has been trained by a ninja master.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. That line she says, "I've warned you before, Phil. You play with that gun, someone's going to get shot." So she knows that Phil plays with guns.
It's true.
Yeah, messed up, man.
By the way, you know what that line reminded me of? That scene in Beverly Hills 90210 when Brian Austin Green is playing with his buddy. He's like, let me show you my father's guns, the gun rack. It's like, don't play with that gun. And he shoots himself. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's amazing. It's a great reference. It's a deep cut.
Really important, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I bring. I'm here to bring that.
Meanwhile, on the library steps, Wolverine has been joined by Colossus and Rogue.
I think we're chasing wild geese.
Maybe. We'll know soon enough, pal.
I wonder why we bother. Even if we succeed and save this mystery, Sods butt. It don't make no real difference to us. We'll still be outcast. We still be hated. Would I be any worse off if I'd stay with Mystique and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants? I don't really seem so. I tell y'all truthfully, if I'd known what that creep was writing on that wall, and I'd flown on by Ray, I'd have flown on by Ray too.
Okay, before I flip pages.
Oh yeah.
Before you flip pages, go back if you don't mind.
Yeah.
just this choice. This could very well be either Romita Jr.'s choice or Dan Green. But to cut the panel off and let the words go outside of it. So now imagine it the other way. Imagine that the panel continues and finishes to fit the box. Goes to the end of the page. It would make that end of the panel feel so like stuffed and constrained. But by having the panel just end, having the words overlap and go out of it, actually opens it up. It lets it breathe. It gives space. We're not having the tangents of having panel borders go right up against or just so close to the word balloons. It actually gives it a little bit of breath. And graphically it works nice too. But boy, oh boy, what a good move to just let the page breathe a little bit as opposed to making it super cramped with having the panel extend there. I don't know. I think it's good. I don't know if I would have thought of that.
Even their poses too, right? They're
So
so distinctly different, and they're so distinctly like those characters.
Yeah, that's cartooning for you. Look how Chill Wolverine is, and his
look
super
at Rogue's,
baggy khakis.
Yeah, Rogue's her positioning, it just her hands cross over her knee and her legs are crossed. It's just such a great.
Yeah,
it's so great.
It's perfect. He's really great at this stuff. His gestures are phenomenal.
Yeah.
And at Xavier's office, I only seem aware of the presence. I guess because I'm a telepath. I felt it hovering around the X-Men all evening, but I've been unable to get a fix on it since our encounter in the deli. I think it's the Beyonder, yet his psychic emanations have changed markedly since we fought in Los Angeles. He seems different in mind as well as appearance. Perhaps he's growing up.
Evolution in a god, Xavier? Isn't that a contradiction in terms? If he is the be-all and end-all of existence, what then is left for him to learn?
Professor Xavier, Magneto, he's here.
But the room is empty.
A mind link, the three of us. That'll allow you to access my enhanced perceptions. Then you'll see. But Rachel's use of her psi powers trips the booby trap planted in the office. It's called the Psi Scream, and it's designed to amplify any amount of psychic energy used in its vicinity 100-fold and reflect it back on its source. To Rachel, her senses and perceptions heightened to their ultimate extent. Her defense is equally vulnerable. It's as if her very blood has just been transformed to acid. She screams with all her heart. Awesome, Belle. And lashes out with all her strength.
Boy, Shamuth.
Charlie and Magneto.
I'll catch him. Prof's KO'd, Wolvie. Maggie looks okay.
But what about Rachel? Colossus, get me up there. A fastball special. Even as the big Russian becomes his armored self, Wolverine extends his razor-keen adamantium claws from their bionic housings built into his hands and forearms. Ray, how you doing, gal? Rachel. What a mess. No unknown human sense nearby, no residue of cordite or plastique. I don't get it. If a bomb didn't do this, what the heck did? Unless the kid's crying. She's a telekinetic. Was she the cause? But why? Uh-oh. Kitty. My Kate. They're killing her. Huh? What are you talking about, girl? Who are you? Where'd that outfit come from? And her face. Just as they tried to murder Professor Xavier. Ray, where are you going? Tell us what's happening. Rachel.
Phil, for heaven's sake, don't.
Too late for second thoughts, Mickey. That explosion we heard means Xavier is history. But we won't be safe until we dispose of the only witness, his mutant protege as well. Leave her alone. We all at one time, we should all do that voice. So 3, 2, 1.
Leave her alone.
like this massive wall-shattering voice.
Yeah.
Nigel,
we used to try, Nigel. Go ahead,
go ahead.
Chris.
No, Jason. I was going to say, if you go back to some early episodes, or those in the chat, if you go back to early episodes, when we first would do Jean's transformation into Phoenix,
Right.
that's what we would do. Jason would read it normally, and I would try to do a guttural voice at the same time.
Oh, sick.
That
That's
became
funny.
the Phoenix voice.
That's funny.
It was terrible and
It was
beautiful.
terrible.
It never worked, but the idea that like you hear it in two tones, like you hear this,
Yeah.
this
In
primal
theory.
thing as well as the woman's voice, I think is a neat idea, and it never worked. And one time Kev came on, shouts to Kevin Toying Around. He came on and he had like a voice effect that he employed,
Oh.
and it was hilarious. But if you're going to start getting into production value, then you can go a long way with what we have in our homes these days.
Yeah, that's true.
Chuck says, just like Phoenix, beautiful and terrible. Yeah, totally. That bottom panel, as Chuck says, it smokes. It's it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, this is where I really love artists like John Romita Jr. over your Jim Lee kind of guys, because he shows restraint. Like, he's not overdrawing, like, doesn't even have the hands, doesn't even have the face or the feet. Like, it's almost impressionistic, like that gesture, the power, and he knows you're only going to look at this for less than 3 seconds. So
Right.
get what's needed on there, make sure it reads clearly, and then you just move on. But today that would be either a splash page, or she'd be the biggest figure on the page and sacrifice everything else around for that moment. But it is a great panel regardless. Yeah, so beautiful. Kitty, I'm in luck. I'm in time. I can sense a heartbeat, and her thoughts are as wonderfully normally chaotic as ever. Another one. No big deal, no problem. So he's a lefty, fires lefty. I don't know if he was lefty before, but lefties always notice lefties. You puny, pathetic human. To think you could take a telepath by surprise. Or that your gun would be any threat to a telekinetic. Nigel, it's you.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah,
Oh.
man.
Stop.
The boat. Something's keeping it from hitting me.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you got it. I was also laughing at Chuck's line there. When the gun went off, he wrote "blam" again because he wrote it earlier, and it was very funny to me. So that's why I missed that. So Chuck, that misbeat was your fault, but very funny. Okay, I am the master of magnetism, a mutant. Mine is the power that holds the shell at bay, even as the young lady struggles with all her considerable might to push it onwards. Rachel, I beg you, forbear.
It's no less than they would cheerfully have done to us, Magneto. By the way, it's not a shell. The shell casing is the thing that would fly out of the gun in the other direction.
Yeah, so the bullet, right?
Yeah, that's a bullet, dude. It's okay. He's only the master of magnetism, not the master of ballistics.
Yeah, that's true.
It's fine.
It looks good in that panel while he's saying it, though. But
yeah, he's great. Him in a suit, like fist out, holding the power like that.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
yeah, it's pretty wicked.
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer stars as Magneto.
Like, you think about Blade Runner Rutger Hauer, right?
Good one.
Yeah. No more than they deserve.
That
That's
was
a cool effect, eh?
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I like that a lot. I was kind of making the sound effect in my head. Okay. That was once what I believed, and see what is achieved. I am hunted. I am hunted the world over. My name has become almost a synonym for madness and evil. My children have disowned me. I am as feared, Rachel, as I am hated. And worst of all, those whose lives I sought to safeguard, whose bright future to ensure, are no better off. Indeed, I have probably made their existence far worse.
You don't understand. These scum beat the professor like an animal, These are the killers he set us to find, unaware that he was the victim. I see the thoughts and memories in their minds. They have murdered Kitty too, or they'd have murdered Kitty too if I hadn't prevented it. There's no remorse in them, no pity. We're muties. We're not real people. We're inhuman, alien things.
Theirs is a hatred born of ignorance and fear. Will you now, by your actions, justify that fear and the hate?
Look at what they've done to me. In these clothes in my own era, as a hound, I hunted mutants. Humans like them made me do that and worse. I killed Magneto, people I knew, and some I loved. I never wanted you or any of the X-Men to know. I couldn't bear it. But they pulled my secret from me. Thanks to them, I can't hide my shame any longer. For that, I want them to pay.
As those who tormented you in the future cannot?
Yes.
Then kill him, my child. Then kill him, child. Prove your superiority. Slaughter them as callously?
Yes.
Slaughter them as callously, as mercilessly as they would you. Let them see that you are no better than they. That you can return hate for hate, blow for blow, life for life. What are you waiting for, Rachel? Do it. Give them the final victory. Link.
Magneto, I may never forgive you for this. You've attracted a lot of attention. Cops and the fire department are on their way. The X-Men shouldn't be here when they arrive.
Love that first panel. That face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Even the dude, I mean, that's a lot of sweat on brother up there in the top right.
Poor
But,
Phil.
but we get it. Yeah, but we get it.
It's a lot of sweat.
A lot of sweat, man. A lot of sweat. Sweat
I
coming
mean,
out your
can you
eyes.
imagine sitting there with that bullet in front of you, like that's, your death is about to happen.
Yeah, that's true. Ray?
I don't want to talk Kitty, okay? I know you mean well, but I'm really not in the mood.
I only wanted to say thanks.
You're welcome. You needn't worry about these slime revealing our identities. I telepathically erased any memory of the Professor and the X-Men. I know he doesn't approve of that, but right now I couldn't care less. I love you people more than my life. I'll do whatever I have to protect you.
That was a very near thing. But for all her bitterness, I believe Rachel will be all right. Couldn't have timed that any better.
Wow. It's a dog bolt my feet. My apologies.
Nice. That's so great. How did you know? How did you know what to say to her? An easy task, Catherine, for one who, like Rachel, has dwelled too long in the valley of the shadow of death. In too many tragic ways, we are kindred souls, survivors of the Holocaust, children of the abyss. Maybe the prof's right after all. You do have the makings of a hero. No, I am no hero. Merely a man who has seen and done and endured what can never be forgotten or forgiven. This Magneto possesses power enough to reshape this orb, yet he chooses not to use it, though his very existence is threatened. Indeed, he prevented Rachel from using her power to accomplish what she desired, yet she does not act against him. It is most puzzling. In my stay here, I have seen almost nothing but contradictions. These X-Men, especially the one called Rachel, are among the most puzzling conundrums. As I have observed before, the only way to fully explore and thereby comprehend the myriad facets of humanity is to to experience them firsthand. It is not enough to dwell at the frings of their activities as a phantom to know what is human. I must truly become human.
The Beyonders saga continues in Iron Man 197, while next issue, Shadowcat and Colossus stand alone against Doctor Doom to save Arcade. Bum, bum,
Ooh, what a
bum.
doozy. That last little bit by the Beyonder, I was like, Guy, what are you even saying?
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah. The ElfQuest ad, Chuck. Yeah, I bought in hardcore to ElfQuest as a 10-year-old as well. Picked those up off the newsstand at the local Max Milk. And I have the first 20 issues of ElfQuest. Still love those. I think they were adorable. And probably one of my first forays into sword and sorcery and that kind of stuff. I thought this was actually a really good issue. Yeah, full stop. That Magneto arc in it is great, huge. Like the synergy between where he's at in this issue and what we just witnessed since March in X-Men 97 is an incredible parallel. And of course, these issues do not go at a breakneck speed, right? You get to have one a month and think about it for all those days, reread it as much as you want, and sit with it and let it sit with you. Whereas with the animation, we're like week to week, going, the whole season went by in just a matter of 10 weeks. Really, each episode was super fast too. So it's neat to hear him just kind of go and talk about how he can't be redeemed. I thought it's like really in line with what we saw, and Rachel's a good foil for that journey for him too, to like have a specific X-Men to mentor. Like there's someone who we share a tragic past. Like on the show, maybe this is one of the failings. Not like the show was a failure. When he joins the X-Men in the first episode, there isn't an X-Men. Maybe Rogue. Maybe I'm wrong. But there isn't someone who he's guiding through forgiveness and redemption in some way as a mentor. He's just doing that himself. Maybe it would have been too much for the show. But in this, I like that he has that junior that he's like, you and I are kindred spirits, Rachel. I like that. That's cool to me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Chris, hit it.
I mean,
Nigel loves to sit back.
I do.
It's his game. I know you. I know.
It's
I
solid.
see you.
It's solid. I mean, yeah, no, I think like aside from the stuff we've talked about, yeah, I think so. You mentioned actually right off the bat, we talked a little bit about Rachel, and it's still I don't know how many issues you are with Rachel in 10, maybe 15, few with whatever, and we're still kind of unclear about all of it, all that she brings to the table, aside from being telepath, aside from having telekinetic powers, aside from being Cyclops and Jean's kid from the future, like all these things, right? Connected to Days of Future Past, like all these things. But we still don't quite know why she's there, how she got there, what does it matter aside from those things. So I like the idea of her not being under the professor's tutelage, but being under a self-reflective Magneto's tutelage. I think is a really interesting concept. I was going to say too, the whole Kitty thing and the back and forth, the interaction. One thing we didn't talk about, but so her age fluctuates a lot too in this issue, like in this series. And they say she's 15, and it's like she's 15 in this issue. I think she was like 18 3 issues ago or whatever. There is some kind of inconsistency there, but also, yeah. There's some, why is she, and if she's friends with us, why is she hanging out with like 25-year-old grad students? She's 15 years old.
Okay,
who's making the bad choice there? I think all of them.
Yeah, her character is. I mean, just to be in continuity here, her character is like a protege. Yeah. So her like tech and her book smarts are off the charts. So she's Doogie Howser. Yeah,
she's Doogie Howser. Yeah.
Chuck says, obviously, the Beyond doesn't really belong to the story, and yet Rachel is the only one who perceives him, and then she becomes the focus of the story at the point of decision. Was that her bad choice? series. So he becomes like some angel of death, kind of like that idea that he is. I don't actually know. I'm not even sure how to perceive the stuff with the Beyonder. I think it's like a Jim Shooter mandate, right? Like Shooter has this pet project of doing, and shoehorns him into every series. Ali says respectfully, "You've never been a girl in a big city." Touche.
Fair.
Very true.
Touche.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, especially with Phil with the guns. Yeah, that was a strange one. I'm just going to show next issue we get the
Dr. Doom in the house.
I think it's like we know it's Arcade something. Maybe it's a Doombot. We also get Storm flying on the cover.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, and X-Men are dead kind of, but it's all looks like it's water at the bottom. The issue after that, Life, Death 2.
Oh wow.
So it's coming.
In 2 weeks.
It's coming. And then the issue after that, spoilers, another spoiler.
Oh boy. Okay.
Marvel Legends this shit up.
Yeah.
I want that figure right now. Putting it out there to the world. Yeah. With the ponytail and everything. But so it is neat. Her arc is coming. Storm's arc is coming to a head too, and kind of get one more issue of the regular X-Men stuff to see what happens, in the big story. So it should be tons of fun. Chuck says it does make for an interesting way to integrate the other story into this actual story. Yeah, I agree. If you have to do it, I mean, the deli scene was kind of a joke, but it set up the ending, the idea that he's sort of watching her make that decision, I think is an interesting one. And he's learning morality through her struggle with morality. Like that works. That works. So that was cool. Any final thoughts, Chris?
No.
Okay, Nige, any final thoughts?
Yeah, this was a great time. I really enjoyed the book because I love a good X-Men book where it's a little more grounded, where you're just because sometimes it can be too much. Like the action is just like so off the wall, and then they're also adding a lot of texts, and so you're reading a lot of dialogue, but there's all this action. But here it's just like, no, man, we're one of the first scenes you're gonna see just the cast sitting at a restaurant table. Like, I mean, I'm okay with that. Just to change the pace, even though I'm jumping in with this issue, not having read the previous one. But I liked it. And so yeah, I think I will. Well, we'll talk offline. I want to know where to start if I want to jump in on these and get caught.
Giant size number 1, 1975.
Okay, well,
that's why we did the show, dude.
Yeah, that's it. Giant size number. Okay, I think
there
I
you
actually
go.
bought that.
Not that it makes a big difference. Chris and I are headed to Deep River, Ontario on Friday afternoon. And I don't imagine that this show is going to connect with that event in any kind of way. But let's hope someone in the Ottawa River Valley wants to head up to Deep River to check us out. We'll be there on Friday. Sorry, we'll get there Friday night, but we'll be at the Geek Fest in Deep River on Saturday and Sunday at the hockey arena, I think is where it's happening. But more relevant to this, just an early shouts, Mr. Chris Sanagan will be celebrating another trip around the sun on Friday, Chris. On the 31st is your birthday, sir. So looking forward
26.
to
26.
26 years old?
26.
Nice.
We found me as an eager 20-year-old Jason, and we wait a minute, this is a different story.
Yeah,
but it's going to be nice to hang out with you on your birthday, and so just shouts to happy birthday to you, and looking forward to seeing you on Friday and going for that car ride. We have about a 4.5
hour car ride.
Yeah, it'll be fun times.
Always is.
But we know where to find Nigel on social media. Your IG is at Nigel_Downer.
Yep.
What was the other one again with the hats?
Was Exclusive EX. SCLOOSIE. Yeah, man, do it. I went through my phone today and I was like, oh man, I have a ton of hats I need to post. I'm gonna do a quick hat parade right now for you guys before we bail out of here. So for all the people that are watching, like I said, you got this one's aggressive though. This Negro League one's because it's got like that blue suede. You see that?
Like that
on the front? Yeah, with the gray. This was nice. This is one of my faves. I'm just gonna go through real quick. Got the gray, the New York. Look at that. Boom. Got the wool. That Detroit up in here. Got the Detroit. Got another Detroit. Okay, you know what I'm saying? This is like a kind of off-white. It's off-white. All right, look at this one. Look how thick that. Look at that stitching. Look at that. Huh? Look at that. Look at that shit. Black crackers. Look at that. Whoops, I swore. Sorry. Got this here. Look at that blue. It's just popping right off there.
Yeah.
Look at this patch. Look at this patch. You know what I mean? Side patch. Got ABC. Yeah, a lot of just letters. A lot of just letters. So that's what we do. Letters. Some more letters. It's another KC one. Monarchs right there. 1924.
Kansas City, yeah.
Yeah, it's another Kansas City one. Just different version. Boom. Look at
Satchel Paige. It's Satchel
yeah,
Paige.
man. I love it.
Pitch
Last
for
one,
Kansas
KC.
City.
Second last
Great
one.
name too, Satchel Paige.
Yeah, one of the great names, yeah.
Yeah.
Look at this one. This is a beaut right here. This is a beaut.
That is beautiful.
This is a beaut. This is a beaut right here. It's a beaut. Second last one right here. I'm saving one of my.
Oh yeah,
favorites for
Homestead Grays.
Gotta
Absolutely.
I have like 2 or 3 Homestead Grays.
Yeah, you gotta have the Homestead Grays. Yeah.
Last but
Pittsburgh,
certainly not
baby.
least,
Pittsburgh.
boom. Pittsburgh Crawford.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Look at that. Look at that color. Look at that. Oh, gorgeous. Boom. Negro League's in the back. Got that gray under. There it is. Boom. There it is. Pull a lot of stops for you guys. Rushing to get that stuff
Well, that's
together.
beautiful.
Oh, I forgot. Before I forget, I meant to mention if you have CBC Gem is free. Sign up for it. My web series is on there. I completely forgot to push it last time. It's called Bit Players, PLA Players. You know how it is. Not players, players, Bit Players. Can't spell. I told you, can't spell, can't read. But that's not true. I can. I shouldn't play that up because that's not very. I'm educated. Shout out to the University of Guelph where I went for school. Shout out, go Griffins. Bit Players. Check it out. It's got everything, man. It's got diversity in it, but on top of that, it's like we talk about identity and we talk about comic books and video games. And there's a big story arc to the whole thing. It's me and my roommate and my best friend, and we're just going through the thing. His name's Chris Siddiqui. So in the show, it's me and him, but we play we're exaggerated versions of our heightened versions of ourselves. So definitely check it out on CBC Gems. Called Bit Players, and let me know what you think. I would love that. We won 2 Canadian Screen Awards for that bad boy. The awards are right there, and they are heavy. So check it out. Oh, there it is.
Check it out. Check it out.
I hate that laser thing. Anyways, yeah, I'm done.
No, I'm like celebrating your
Thank you.
Bit Players.
Congrats, man. It's amazing.
We have CBC Gem. I will check that out. I'm actually going to go watch that now.
Yeah, please do. It's real quick. It's cool.
You're getting some nice wishes there
Yeah.
in the chat, but this one's too funny to. Happy birthday, Chris. May your sonic scream never go out while saving Japan from Moses Magnum's volcano lair. Very specific cut.
Yeah,
but
very
there you
specific.
go.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you so much.
There you go. And
Allie, thank you as well. Thank you for wishing happy birthday. I really appreciate it.
oh, sweet folk. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Previously in X-Men. Oh,
sorry, I'm so sorry.
No.
Is Ali asking for? Are you asking about Bit Players, Ali? I'm not sure because if you are, yes, it's on Prime in the States. So yeah, I should have punched that too. So it's up here. It's CBC Gem, but in the Americas, it's there. You go. Yeah, in the Americas, it's on Prime. It should be on Prime.
nice.
Yeah.
That still brings us to the end of another episode of Previously in X-Men. Thank you to our wonderful guest, Nigel Downer. So glad you could be here, Nigel. You, no surprise, you make things that are good even better. So I'm really glad you could be here with us to improve these X-Men comic experiences. It's really nice to hang out with you again, and I'm looking forward to the day when we get to do this all again. It's been such a pleasure. And thanks, of course, to my good buddy, writer of Group of Seven and Peregrines, Chris Sanagan. You can find Chris on social media. Bug him. Send him some happy birthday thoughts on Friday. You can find more about our comics and upcoming appearances at group7comics.ca. Of course, it's the number 7 in Group of 7. And follow us on at Group of 7 Comics on social media. Please click like, subscribe to the channel, click like on the video. Tell us your take on X-Men comics in the comments below. It makes a difference, of course. It impacts the algorithm in all the right ways. Any kind of engagement is very supportive. So thank you for that. Stay Xy out there in the world, everybody. Be nice to each other. And thanks, Bub. Good night.
Bye.
That was really fun. Oh my God.